You're alone. Maybe it's a dark hallway, maybe it's just a room that went too quiet, and before you've thought a single thought, you feel it. The hair on your arms lifts, the back of your neck prickles, your skin pulls itself into 1,000 tiny bumps. Nothing touched you, nothing even moved. Your body just decided on its own to do this. Now here's the strange part. Think about what your body actually just did. It raised hair on a body that barely has any. You're not a furry animal, you've got a little on your arms, some on your legs, and your body just fired off a full emergency response to make all of it stand up perfectly instantly for no reason you can name. And evolution doesn't keep things like that. Evolution is brutal. It strips out whatever stops earning its keep. Wings on birds that quit flying shrink to stubs. Eyes on fish in dark caves go blank. Useless gets deleted. So why is this one still here? Wired straight into you, firing flawlessly, doing nothing? Because it turns out it isn't doing nothing. We only worked out what it's secretly still doing very recently, and the answer is hiding on your skin right now. Let's start with what's actually happening on your skin. Those bumps have a real name. Goosebumps, sure, but the proper word is piloerection. Pilo means hair, erection means standing up. That's the whole thing. Hair, standing up. Every hair on your body sits in a little pocket called a follicle, and attached to each follicle is a muscle so small you have never once felt it work. It's called the arrector pili. When it fires, it yanks the hair upright and tugs the skin into a bump, and you don't get a vote. None of this is you deciding anything. This is your sympathetic nervous system, the same emergency wiring that runs your fight or flight. The instant your brain catches the faintest hint of a threat, it dumps adrenaline into your blood, and that adrenaline pulls the trigger on thousands of these tiny muscles at once. Cold sets it off too. So does a hard wave of emotion. Different inputs, same ancient switch. Now look at the rest of the animal kingdom, because this is where it gets obvious. Watch a scared cat. It puffs up to nearly twice its size in a heartbeat. Watch a dog meet something it doesn't trust, and the hair down its spine lifts into a stiff ridge. People call them the raised hackles. A frightened porcupine does the exact same move with its quills. Every one of them is running the same program you just ran in that quiet room. You're doing what every furry animal on Earth does when it's afraid. You're just doing it bald. So picture the animal you used to be. Go back far enough, past the cities, past farming, past all of it, and your ancestors were covered head to toe in thick fur. And on that animal, this reflex was a genuinely good idea. When all that fur stands up on end, two things happen, and both of them keep you alive. First, you get bigger. A cornered animal with every hair raised looks like more than it actually is. And in a world where a predator is constantly doing fast math on whether you're worth the fight, looking like more can be the whole difference. The lion sizes you up, decides you're too much trouble, and walks. You never even knew how close it got. Sometimes the bluff is the whole defense. Second, all that lifted fur traps a thick layer of air right against the skin, and trapped air is exactly how you hold heat when you're freezing. So the same reflex that scared off a predator also kept your ancestor warm through a cold night. One muscle, two jobs, both worth having. But here's the beat that should sit with you for a second. Notice when it fires. It fires before you know why. A fraction of a second before your conscious mind has even worked out what that shape in the dark was, your body has already braced. And that timing wasn't an accident. The animals that waited around to be sure got eaten. The ones that flinched first, that committed to fear before they understood it, lived long enough to become somebody's ancestor. So you inherited the flinch. Your body commits to danger a beat before you do. It decides you're in trouble and only then lets you in on it. But you're not that animal anymore. Somewhere over 1 million years ago, your ancestors started walking long distances under a punishing sun, and a thick coat became a problem instead of a gift. So they traded the fur for sweat, bare skin that could dump heat fast, and the coat thinned out until there was almost nothing left. That's the body you're walking around in now. Mostly smooth, mostly bare. The fur left. The reflex never got the message. It's like a light switch still wired to a room somebody demolished years ago. You walk past, you flip it out of habit, you hear the soft click of the mechanism working perfectly, and nothing turns on. The wiring is flawless. The room is gone. That's piloerection in a human body, a perfect signal sent to fur that isn't there. This isn't a new observation either. Charles Darwin wrote about it back in 1872 in his book on how emotions show up in the body. He looked at human goosebumps and flagged them as a leftover, a piece of our animal past still quietly running inside a creature that had already moved on without it. You're the room that got knocked down with the switch still on the wall. You're the ghost the fur left behind. And for the longest time, that was the whole story. 1.5 centuries of scientists agreed on it. Dead code. A harmless leftover that does nothing at all. right up until 2020 when somebody finally looked closer and found out the switch was lying to all of us. In 2020, a team at Harvard decided to actually look inside that tiny muscle, and what they found rewires the whole story. A quick, honest note first, because the comments will ask. They ran this in mice, but the exact same hardware sits in your skin too, the same little arrector pili muscle, the same nerve, the same follicle, the same stem cells, and researchers think it works the same way in us. So follow the mouse, but it's pointing at you. Here's what they found. That tiny muscle isn't only a muscle, it's a bridge. It physically anchors the nerve from your sympathetic system, the fight or flight wiring, directly to the stem cells sitting at the base of the hair follicle. And those stem cells have one job, they grow new hair. So watch what happens when the cold hits, the same nerve fires, the muscle contracts, and you get your goosebumps, that part you already knew. But in the very same motion, through that same physical bridge, that nerve reaches the stem cells and tells them to switch on, to start growing. Short term, stand the hair up. Long term, grow more of it. Same circuit, same trigger. Sit with what that means. When your skin senses cold, it doesn't just brace for it. It starts prepping a thicker coat for the cold it thinks is coming. The goosebumps are the visible flicker. The real work is happening underneath, in the cells that make the hair. So the switch's wire does still go somewhere. It was never dead code. The useless reflex we never lost turns out to have a second, quieter job it never stopped doing. It can be used, just not for the thing you assumed. And once you know the wiring is live, something else starts to make sense. Because you've had goosebumps when absolutely nothing was threatening you. A piece of music hits one certain note and the chills roll straight up your arms. You step outside to a sky completely full of stars. A story lands in your chest at exactly the right moment, and there it is again. Researchers think what's happening is that your brain's reward system, the same dopamine wiring that handles pleasure and meaning, reaches over and yanks that same ancient alarm. Awe and fear, wonder and dread sharing one single switch. Your body never built a separate setting for being moved. So when something overwhelms you in a good way, it reaches for the oldest tool it has, the fear reflex, and it uses it gently. The chill of a threat repurposed to mark a moment that mattered. So the next time you're somewhere too quiet and the hair lifts on your arms before you've decided anything at all, you'll know exactly what it is. It isn't a sixth sense, it isn't a sign. There's nothing in the room with you. It's a reflex older than humanity itself, firing inside a body that quietly changed shape underneath it. It's the ghost of fur trying faithfully to rise on skin that let it go 1,000,000 years ago. And while it rises underneath, it's still doing its quiet work, still tending hair you'll never see it grow. And here's the part that should stay with you. That same ancient system, the one built for predators and freezing nights, still finds you in the good moments too. It leans over during a song, under a sky full of stars, in the middle of a story that hits just right, and it raises the hair on your arms for no reason except to tell you that this, right here, mattered. It's the oldest thing about you. Older than language, older than your name, older than being human at all. And it's been hiding in plain sight on your skin this entire time.